Most people think of sake as one thing. A drink you sip, warm or cold with sushi, maybe a splash in teriyaki sauce, and forget about. That's exactly what my grandmother Yuki used to laugh about. To her, a bottle of the cheapest sake on the shelf, under $10, was never just a drink. It sat next to the salt and soy sauce, and she reached for it constantly, in the pan, in the bath, on her skin, even in the garden. Today, I'm counting down 31 tricks she used sake for, and by number 4, you will never look at a bottle of rice wine the same way again. There's a compound behind a lot of this, kojic acid, the reason sake brewery workers are famous for their soft hands. Let's start where Yuki always started, the kitchen. Number 31. Number 31, the fluffy rice splash. Next time you cook rice without soaking it first, add 1 to 2 tablespoons of sake to the cooking water before you turn on the heat. Japanese home cooks have done this for generations, especially when there's no time to soak the grains properly. Here's why it works. The alcohol interferes with how tightly the rice starch gelatinizes as it cooks, which leaves each grain a touch softer and less compact. The payoff is fluffier rice, even when you skipped the soak every single time. Number 30, the stir-fry peacemaker. Next time garlic and soy sauce start fighting for attention in a hot pan, splash in a little sake along with them. This is standard practice in Japanese kitchens, right alongside salt, sugar, vinegar, soy sauce, and miso. As the seasonings cooks are taught to layer in order. The reason is simple. Sake's mild acidity and gentle natural sweetness round off the sharper, more pungent edges of raw garlic and salty soy sauce before they overwhelm everything else. The result is a stir-fry that tastes balanced instead of harsh. Number 29, the moist crumb secret. If you bake bread or cake at home, fold a few tablespoons of sake into the batter. It sounds strange for something you would expect only in savory cooking, but Japanese bakers have used it this way for a long time. Here's what is happening. The alcohol interferes with how tightly gluten strands form as the batter bakes, which keeps the finished crumb softer instead of dense. You will also pick up a faint, pleasant sweetness from leftover rice sugars. Try it once in a pound cake and you will notice the difference immediately. Number 28. The pan to glaze. Right after you sear meat or fish and it is stuck to all those browned bits at the bottom of the pan, pour in a splash of sake and scrape. This comes down to plain solvent chemistry. Alcohol is exceptional at dissolving and lifting caramelized fond. That concentrated layer of flavor stuck to the pan and carrying it straight into your sauce. Restaurant kitchens do this constantly without ever mentioning it. The payoff is a deeper pan sauce built entirely from what was already sitting in front of you. Number 27, the sand-free shellfish steam. If you've ever steamed clams or fish and had the smell linger in your kitchen for hours, steam them in equal parts sake and water instead of plain water. This is an old trick in Japanese kitchens called sakamushi. The mechanism is straightforward. As the alcohol evaporates during steaming, it carries off the volatile compounds responsible for that lingering smell, while the liquid left behind concentrates into a savory, umami-rich broth you can spoon right over the shellfish. Number 26, the cheap bottle rule. When you're cooking, reach for the cheapest junmai sake you can find, usually $8 to $10 a bottle, and save anything fancier for actually drinking. This one surprises people. What's happening is that the delicate floral aromas in an expensive daiginjo, the kind you'd pay $40 for, come from aromatic esters that evaporate completely the moment they hit cooking temperatures. A $10 bottle performs identically in a marinade or a sauce. The payoff isn't better flavor from a pricier bottle, it's the relief of knowing the cheap one was correct all along. Number 25. The half the salt brine. If you are brining chicken, pork, or fish, mix 1 cup of sake into 2 to 3 cups of water instead of relying on salt alone. Japanese home cooks have leaned on this for years as a way to season and tenderize at the same time. Here is why it works. Through osmosis, the sake's alcohol and amino acids move into the meat right alongside the salt. loosening the muscle fibers as they go, which means you can use roughly half the usual salt and still end up with a well-seasoned, juicy result. Number 24, the kasuzuke marinade. Mix sake lees, a spoonful of miso, and a little mirin into a paste, coat salmon or vegetables in it, and let them sit in the refrigerator overnight. This was one of Yuki's favorites. Every New Year, she'd pull kasuzuke salmon out of the fridge like it was a small miracle. The reason it tastes the way it does comes down to kojic enzymes still active in the sake lees. They keep breaking proteins down into inosine monophosphate, one of the core compounds behind umami, long after fresh sake alone would have stopped working. Number 23, the morning amazake fix. Dissolve sake lees or rice koji in hot water with a little grated ginger and drink it first thing in the morning. This drink, amazake, has been part of Japanese life for centuries, and it's earned a nickname, the drinkable IV drip. Here's why. The kojic enzymes have already broken the rice starches down into simple glucose before you ever drink it, so your body absorbs the sugar and B vitamins almost immediately. The payoff is a fast, steady lift in energy without the crash that comes from refined sugar. Number 22, the summer chill down. In hot weather, serve that same amazake ice cold, or even frozen into a simple sorbet. Japanese households have done this for generations to fight natsubare, the seasonal fatigue that comes from summer heat and heavy sweating. The mechanism doesn't change from the last trick. It's the same fast-absorbing glucose and B1 doing the work, just delivered cold instead of hot. What changes is the timing. A chilled glass replaces energy lost to heat almost as fast as it disappears. Number 21, the gut reset bowl. Stir a spoonful of sake lees into your miso soup a few times a week instead of leaving it out entirely. This is an old habit in Japanese households, treated less like a supplement and more like a pantry staple. What's happening is that the resistant protein and oligosaccharides in sake lees pass through digestion largely intact, reaching your gut bacteria instead of being broken down before they get there. The payoff is a small, steady habit rather than a dramatic fix, but a genuinely useful one. Number 20, the cholesterol assist. Work sake lees into your regular cooking, soups, marinades, whatever fits, rather than treating it as an occasional ingredient. This idea got attention in Japan after a science program highlighted sake lees and cholesterol, and it's rooted in something real, even if the research is still early. The reasoning is that resistant protein in sake lees binds to excess fat and cholesterol in the intestine, helping carry it out of the body instead of into the bloodstream. Treat this as a promising traditional finding, not a guaranteed fix. Number 19, the liver support bowl. Make kasujiru, a simple soup of sake lees, root vegetables, and miso on a night when you want something warm. This one has real laboratory backing behind the tradition. A 2017 study published in the journal Lipids in Health and Disease found that a sake lees extract reduced fat accumulation in the livers of mice fed a high-fat diet and improved their insulin resistance. That's animal research, not a human trial, so it's not a promise. But it's a real peer-reviewed reason behind a dish Japanese households have leaned on for a long time. Number 18. The cold and flu warmer. The moment anyone in Yuki's house so much as sniffled, she'd have a pot of hot kasujiru going before you could argue with her. I'll be honest about this one. There's no dramatic mechanism here, just warmth, protein, and B vitamins in a dish that's easy to get down when you don't feel like eating much else. Japanese households have treated warm, nourishing soups this way for generations, as comfort rather than medicine. The payoff isn't a cure. It's the particular relief of being fed and warmed by someone who loves you. Number 17, the post-workout recovery boost. After a hard workout, some athletes in Japan reach for a sake protein supplement made from sake lees instead of the usual whey. A 2016 study on mice found that this branched-chain amino acid-rich sake protein supported muscle performance and reduced markers of fatigue after intense exercise training. What is happening is that those branched-chain amino acids, especially leucine, are directly involved in repairing and building muscle tissue after strain, a newer application of a byproduct that rarely goes to waste in a Japanese kitchen. Now, those first 15 tricks covered your kitchen and your health, but stay with me because what is coming next moves into your bathroom cabinet, and it is the reason sake brewery workers become famous for their hands in the first place. Especially number 13, which most people never see coming. Number 16, the bath soak softener. Add sake to warm bath water, roughly 1% by volume, which works out to about 30 ounces for a full tub, and soak for 15 or 20 minutes. Geishas in Japan have done this for centuries to keep their skin soft. Here's why it works. The amino acids and glycerol in sake act as humectants, drawing moisture into the skin. And a study from the Journal of the Brewing Society of Japan found that a sake bath keeps the body half a degree to a full degree warmer for longer than an ordinary bath. Number 15, the Toji's toner. After cleansing your face, pat on a small amount of diluted sake as a toner. This trick has a genuinely famous origin. Decades ago, a scientist noticed that Toji, the master brewers who spend all day with their hands in fermenting rice, had remarkably soft, youthful hands well into old age. Here's why. Sake contains kojic acid, a natural byproduct of the koji mold used in fermentation, and kojic acid works by inhibiting tyrosinase, the enzyme your skin uses to produce melanin. Less melanin means fewer new dark spots forming in the first place. Number 14, the age spot fade. If you already have dark spots or hyperpigmentation, apply a small amount of sake lees paste directly onto them a few nights a week. This is the same kojic acid at work again, just in a more concentrated form, straight from the lees. What's happening is that consistent, repeated exposure gradually fades existing discoloration instead of only preventing new spots, since the tyrosinase blocking effect works on melanin that's already been produced. Be patient. This is a gradual fade, not an overnight change. Number 13, the under eye brightener, the one I promised you earlier. Dab a very small amount of diluted sake around the delicate skin under your eyes, where dark circles often have a pigmentation component and not just shadow from puffiness. The mechanism is the same kojic acid again, working on melanin production in one of the thinnest, most visible patches of skin on your face. Because the skin here is so delicate, always dilute the sake well and patch test first before using it regularly. Number 12, the acne calmer. If you deal with oily skin or occasional breakouts, pat diluted SAHK onto those areas as part of your routine. This one works differently from the last few tricks. The reason is that SAHK acts as a natural astringent, reducing excess sebum production and visibly tightening the appearance of pores, rather than doing anything to melanin or pigmentation. Less oil on the surface of your skin means fewer clogged pores and fewer new breakouts forming. Number 11, the antioxidant shield. Work a sake-based toner or serum into your routine as a daily habit, not just an occasional treatment. What's happening here comes down to ferulic acid, a compound produced naturally during sake fermentation. Ferulic acid is a powerful absorber of ultraviolet light and a genuine antioxidant, meaning it helps neutralize the free radicals that would otherwise break down collagen and accelerate visible aging. Used consistently alongside sunscreen, not instead of it, this becomes a small daily layer of protection. Number 10, the overnight glow mask. And this one belonged to Yuki more than almost any other beauty trick on this list. She'd mix sake lees with a little honey and water into a thick paste, leave it on her face for about 15 minutes, and rinse it away like clockwork. Here's why it works on two fronts at once. The kojic acid brightens by blocking new melanin production, while the B vitamins naturally present in sake lees support skin cell turnover. 15 minutes twice a week was Yuki's whole rule, and she never once skipped it. Number 9, the gentle resurfacer. Once a week, wipe a sake-soaked cotton pad gently over your face instead of using a harsher physical scrub. The reason this works without the irritation of scrubbing comes down to the natural alpha-hydroxy acids present in sake. These acids loosen the bonds holding dead skin cells to the surface, allowing them to slough off on their own rather than being physically abraded away. The payoff is smoother texture without the redness that comes from scrubbing too hard. Number 8, the bar soap swap. Replace a regular bar of soap with one made from sake lees and use it as your everyday face and hand wash. This comes back to kojic acid one more time, still blocking melanin production with regular use, but this time paired with the glycerin naturally retained during the soap-making process. That combination matters because glycerin keeps your skin's moisture barrier intact instead of stripping it, the way a lot of ordinary soap does. That's 9 separate skin tricks from one kitchen ingredient, and I still haven't gotten to the strangest part of this list. Stay with me because what's coming next has nothing to do with cooking or your skin at all, and it includes number 4, which most people watching this have genuinely never heard of. Number 7, the ground blessing splash. Before starting something new, a garden bed, a home renovation, any project that felt like a real beginning, Yuki would pour a small amount of sake onto the corners of the space. I want to be honest about this one, there's no chemistry to explain here. This comes from jichinsai, a Shinto ground purification ritual performed across Japan before construction begins, where sake, salt, and water are offered and sprinkled to honor the land before anything is built on it. Yuki did her own small version of it every single time. Number 6, the 3-sip bond. To seal an important promise, a reunion, or a celebration at home, share 3 cups of sake, taking 3 sips from each cup between 2 people. This tradition, called san kudo, comes from Shinto wedding ceremonies, where it's shared between a bride and groom before the gods. The reasoning behind the numbers is symbolic rather than chemical. 3 represents beginning, middle, and end, while 9, the total number of sips, is considered the most auspicious number in the tradition. Number 5, the Toso New Year tonic. On New Year's Day, steep a small packet of traditional herbs in sake overnight, then share a small cup of it with your family the next morning. This drink, called toso, dates back centuries in Japan and blends sake with kampo, traditional Japanese herbal medicine, rather than relying on sake alone. The intention behind it has always been to ward off illness and invite good health for the year ahead, a custom rather than a proven remedy when the Emperor of Japan has continued privately through every era that tried to interrupt it. Number 4, the one-pot rice wine hot pot, the one I told you about earlier. In Hiroshima, there's a regional specialty called bishu nabe, where meat and vegetables are simmered in nothing but sake itself, seasoned with only salt and pepper. No stock, no dashi, no water added at all. It sounds like it shouldn't work. Here's why it does. The amino acids concentrated in sake are strong enough on their own to season an entire pot, carrying the same umami depth you'd normally build from hours of stock. Now for the final 3. These are the ultimate staples. If you remember nothing else from this video, remember these 3, because between them, they cover your kitchen, your skin, and the one habit that started this entire list in the first place. Number 3, the drinkable IV drip ritual. Keep amazake around as a daily habit, not something you only reach for in winter or after a hard workout. We already covered the mechanism, koji enzymes pre-breaking rice starch down into fast-absorbing glucose alongside a strong dose of B vitamins. But the real payoff here is consistency. A cup in the morning, a cold one in summer, one on a day you feel run down, all draw from the exact same simple drink. Of everything on this list, it's the easiest single habit to actually keep. Number 2, the natural alternative. Close out your nightly skincare routine with a diluted sake rinse or toner every single night, not just occasionally. This is kojic acid's last appearance on this list, and it's worth restating plainly. Kojic acid is considered a gentler, natural alternative to hydroquinone, the harsher skin-lightening ingredient dermatologists have used for decades. Consistent nightly use, blocking new melanin production night after night, is what actually produces visible results over months, not any single application. Number 1, Yuki's fish secret, the one that started everything. Before any piece of fish or meat in her kitchen ever touched a hot pan, Yuki sprinkled it with sake first, every single time, without fail. It's the same trick from number 31 at the start of this list, Kusami Tori, but I'm ending here because it was the very first thing she ever taught me to do in her kitchen, long before I could reach the stove on my own. The alcohol and organic acids bind to the compounds responsible for fishy, gamey odors and carry them off as they evaporate, leaving behind something cleaner underneath. 31 tricks, and every single one traces back to the same cheap bottle sitting in Yuki's kitchen, the one most people would only ever pour into a cup. Kojic acid gave her soft hands well into old age, and it's the reason half of this list works at all. But if you ask me what I actually remember, it's her hands themselves, dusted with flour, smelling faintly of rice wine, moving through a kitchen like she had all the time in the world. If this helped you see sake differently, share it with someone who needs it. Tell me your favorite trick in the comments and subscribe for more from Yuki's Kitchen.